This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hey there, and welcome back to She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. You're listening to episode 135, and I am your host, as always, Kinsey Roberts. I'm excited to welcome Kayla McCaul to the show today to talk about partnerships in business, and along with that, communication and balance when it comes to partnerships. This was a particularly fun conversation for me because if you're a longtime listener of the show, or if you're new here, either way, you may not know that I am also in a partnership at the wedding venue that I own. So it's always fun for me to talk to other industry professionals about their partnerships, how they make them work, the challenges that they face, and how they overcome roadblocks that might get in their way when it comes to a partnership. So let me tell you a little bit about Kayla, and then we will dive into the episode. She is the K in CK Event and Design. And she always knew that she wanted to own her own business, but she was not sure what that meant until she met and was introduced to the industry by Chels, who is her partner and the C in CK Events. Once they started working weddings together, it was something that felt so natural, and Kayla felt like she should have been doing this wedding planning all along. She loves the many different aspects of our business. She loves working with clients, creating and designing events, and she absolutely loves the friends she's made in the industry. Don't we all, right? Isn't this one of the relationships with industry friends the best parts of what we do? Her number one passion in life is family. She has an amazing husband and two wonderful little girls. She cherishes all of the time they get to spend together and feels really grateful to be able to do something she loves, but also have flexibility to make her family her first priority. Together, they love exploring new places and spending time with their friends. If she could eat out every night, she would. Manicures make her feel refreshed, and champagne makes her night. Doesn't Kayla sound like so much fun? And she really is. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with her. It felt like I was talking to an old friend. So Kayla, thank you for that. Before we dive into the interview with Kayla, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by the Pro Shop, formerly called the Opt-in Shop. The Pro Shop is a resource of digital templates, tools, and courses for wedding professionals. You can find it over at shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com/shop. There will also be a link in the show notes. Some of the things you'll find over there is a customizable 12-month wedding planning checklist, the customizable vendor meeting workbooks that I have created, and coming soon, 1 year of social media content for wedding industry professionals specifically. Thank you so much for supporting the show in that way, you guys. I really appreciate you. Okay, without further ado, let's get on to the interview with Kayla McCaul from CK Events, talking all about partnerships, communication, and balance. Kayla, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
It's absolutely my pleasure to have you here. Kayla and I was just talking offline, you guys, about I'm always excited to talk to people who are also in partnerships like I am, because there's tons of different experiences. We all have unique experiences and personalities, and I'm just so curious how other people run their partnerships. So I cannot wait to dig into this.
Yes, I'm excited to chat further about it too, because we do get a lot of questions about this.
Yes, I bet you do. So really quickly, before we dive in, I read, as I always do, that professional bio at the top of the show, but I'd love for you to quickly just tell everyone who you are in your own words and what you do in the industry.
Yeah, of course. So I have been in the industry for about 6 years now, and I joined forces with my business partner, Chels, to start this together. And she's been in the industry since she was in high school, so a lot longer than me, but we were actually roommates when we were like 18 years old. So we became fast friends and roommates. Oh, cool. And I kind of watched her in this industry, and I went off to do my own thing, and we kind of came back together. But I'm a mom. I have two beautiful daughters and an awesome husband. So we just, we stay really busy with the kiddos, but also with running this really great business. And it's just something that I never knew that it would be such a passion of mine, but I love it so much.
So tell us how you got into the industry. Tell us how you got into planning, and what did that kind of transformation look like from what you were doing? You said you went off to do something on your own. Was that industry related, or was that totally different?
No. So I, on a whim, when I was about 20 years old, I live in Portland, Oregon, but on a whim, I told Chelsea, hey, I'm going to move to Arizona. And within 2 weeks, I had packed my bags and I was gone. Like, it was
wow.
yeah. I just
Cool.
wanted an adventure. I'd been in Oregon for pretty much my whole life. I was just like, sun, I need sun.
Totally.
So I took off, and I went to school there for a little while, but I actually ended up working at a pretty beautiful resort there. And so I started out just cocktail serving, but then I moved into helping out with the banquets and events with the weddings. And so I was able to see this really crazy side of weddings that I'd never seen in Oregon before. And so I feel like it was a really fun eye-opener for me, of the different scales of events. And so when I moved back to Portland, Chelsea and I, had stayed friends this whole time, and she had been helping friends plan weddings, and she had worked at venues, and she's worked with a catering company. So she's kind of been everywhere. And I knew it was always a dream of hers to do this. And I was taking business classes. And so when I moved back, we pretty much decided just to join forces and get it started. So we started in May, I think it was 2013, and we pretty much had a full summer. It was just crazy how quickly it all took off. And then we just kind of went from there. But I think it was something that I always knew I wanted to own a business. I just didn't know what that would look like until I kind of saw a different side of the industry that I hadn't seen before.
Okay, so you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur in some way, not necessarily a planner, but that just came. Okay, that's interesting. I like that. So what did that really look like? Like, let's break it down a little bit. What did those conversations look like between you and Chelsea when you moved back to Oregon and you said, okay, we're going to start a business together? What were those conversations like? And take us through the logistics of you starting your business, that resulted in a full summer.
Oh my gosh, I can say, to be totally candid, it was terrifying. I mean, we had been friends for so long, and we do have very different personalities, which I think now we've found in our business really balance each other out. But in friendship and roommates, I remember we always talked about how we could never have another roommate again because we had it so good with each other. We just got each other. There was never the fights about who bought paper towels last time or any of that kind of stuff that I feel like comes up with roommates. And so when she kept coming to me and saying, hey, this person asked me to help them with their wedding, like, I'm trying to write a contract up, or she would feel really nervous about pricing or any of that stuff when she was really just getting started. And so she would come to me as her best friend and just her sounding board. And finally I was like, you know what, we should just do this. I'm like, she was working a full-time job somewhere else, and she was trying to do this on the weekends. But I think, there's that fear when you want to step into something on your own. And I think that pain is really eased when you have someone that you trust to do that with you. And so we kind of jumped into it together in that way. And I mean, our boyfriends, now husbands at the time, were like, this is a terrible idea. Just because, looking back, I'm like, well, I can get why you would say that, because everybody says you don't go into business with your friends. I think that, and that's an old thing. And I think that's changed a lot now. But it was something that concerned people. And I'm proud to say that we've kind of proven everybody wrong in that aspect, where we just, like I said, we just balance each other out really, really well. So it just kind of turned into, okay, let's do this. And then once we had said those words to each other, like, okay, we want to do this together, it was just full steam ahead. I remember sitting on her couch for hours creating our website, and we really started it on our own. We didn't reach out and get a bunch of help. And it's funny now that we've had like a professional rebranding and like all of those things and taken those steps. We talk about how funny it is that if we would have just done that in the beginning, how many mistakes we would have avoided and stuff. But, a lot of it's a learning process, but we really just jumped into it and created everything on our own. And also we just started showing up everywhere. I mean, people had never seen us before, and definitely hadn't seen Chelsea in the aspect of her owning her own business. They'd seen her in very different roles through the wedding community. And so helping people realize what we were doing now and seeing us in a different light. So we just kind of dove into it.
Did you create a business entity when you got started, or were you like, let's see if this works first? Or were you like, nope, let's get an LLC right now?
Nope, right away. We got an LLC right away, and took on all of those responsibilities. And we knew once we were going to commit, we were really going to commit to it. Neither of us had a goal of having this be a side hustle for much longer. We wanted this to be our main thing.
Mm-hmm. And so you built your own website, your first iteration.
Yes.
Okay. That's amazing. You're like, good for you. You guys are after it. Did you both contribute money to the business at all? Or were you like, we're just going to do sweat equity and market, and whatever money we get to run the business will be from clients we book? Or did you contribute like initial capital?
No, we didn't. We didn't have to contribute anything initially. So yeah, it was just once we started booking stuff, then we could afford to get things. And so I think in the beginning we had booked a couple of things. I mean, one of our first brides, and I know so many people might shake their heads at this, but I found her on Craigslist, which can be terrifying. But it was one of those things. She actually ended up being one of the most incredible people. And we got like 3 other weddings because of her. And I remember when I said to Chelsea, I got on Craigslist and I just typed in wedding planner and someone popped up and she was like, oh my God, we can't do that. That's scary. But
it's not going to be a wedding.
Right. And I think that's where we balance each other out a little bit. Chelsea's very reasonable and logical. And I am a little bit more of the dreamer of like, how can we make this bigger and things like that. And sometimes I need to be brought back down a little bit, but then also sometimes I think she needs to be pushed too, to be like, no, we can do this. You know, it might be hard for a minute, but let's try to make it work. And so I think that's where that great balance is, because, you know, if we hadn't have got that Craigslist bride, who knows, maybe we wouldn't have got our first round of business cards. I don't know. So yeah, it's been interesting, and it was nice not having to initially invest into anything,
right.
And just kind of have that agreement that we were both gonna work really hard at it and get it to where it needed to be.
What did you do to book the rest of your summer then initially? How were you marketing your business and getting the name out there?
Oh, I'm trying to think back to our first summer. I think so. We did jump on to Wedding Wire, and we just spent a lot of time making our profile really appealing and nice. And we made a lot of effort in every client we had to really encourage them to review us and things like that. And a lot of our clients, I mean, they all knew that this was our first season. And so they understood the importance of having those reviews and things like that. So I don't think we paid for Wedding Wire in the beginning, and we don't pay for Wedding Wire now, but I think we did for about a year in between that, but I don't think it was our first year. I think a lot of it was just word of mouth. We spent a lot of time going out and visiting different venues that we really wanted to work at. So, and that's something that we continue to do. We continue to try to build those relationships of places that we either love being at or places that we would love to be at. And I know we did that really heavy in the beginning, just to kind of, you know, introduce ourselves.
Mm-hmm. How were you building relationships there? Just touring, or what do you think? What do you think is something that's key that helped you? Because it's one thing to go tour a venue, right? I own a venue. We get a lot of people coming in and out.
Yeah.
It's one thing to just say, hey, can I come look at your place? But you guys have really, you know, captured that relationship. How do you feel like you've been able to do that?
One thing, we gift people. We love giving gifts for one thing.
Yeah.
So we try to think of something that will be lasting, leave a lasting impression. And we do a lot of follow-up too. So I know, like you said, you have a lot of people coming in and out of your space, I'm sure. But one of the things we always try to do is we do that initial reach out and we schedule a time and all of those things. But we also do other reach out throughout the year. So whether it's sharing something on Instagram, you know, of that venue and, you know, reminding people that we toured it, or, you know, whatever that is. So letting those people know that not only did we enjoy meeting them, but we really value them and want to continue showing that we care throughout the entire year. So it's never just a one and done kind of thing. It's a relationship that we really try to build. And that's something that has been really important to us from day one. And it's hard. I mean, you want to go to every networking thing and stuff. And that's always something that we get a lot of people that are like, how do you go to so much stuff? But we just want to support everybody and we just make it a priority. And that's one of the great things about there being two of us, is that sometimes we can divide and conquer, or if one person has something going on, the other one can show up for the team and things like that. So it definitely helps being able to kind of divide that time.
I agree. You know, you mentioned that about dividing and conquering, which kind of brings me into my next question about your partnership, which is, you mentioned your personalities are different and how that lends itself to different parts of your business. How do you divide responsibilities in business? What does that look like for you guys on the back end?
We've learned so much, I will say. I think in the beginning, we both tried to do everything. I think in the beginning, we were both so invested and we were both so excited that it was, an inquiry would come in and one of us would email it, and then the other, it was just like a total mess in the beginning with trying to divide roles. And I think it's because we all wanted a little piece of everything. And I think that's something that maybe other people can relate to. But I would say about a year or so in, we finally sat down and we're like, okay, it doesn't make any sense for both of us to be stressing about the inquiries or trying to schedule consults and things like that. And so, as the years have gone on, we've just really found our strengths in this. And I mean, for example, Chelsea does all of our QuickBooks and accounting stuff. She's really good at it. And she just checks in there and gets it done. And I don't have to really think about it, which is really nice. And then I handle, all of our social media, and I handle our inquiries and things like that. And then there's things that we're slowly starting to outsource so that neither of us have to worry about. But we've really just kind of started to settle into what our strengths are and finding our roles in that way. But Chelsea loves doing a lot of the behind the scenes things. And sorry, that was my dog, if you heard her.
That's okay. We love dogs.
Oh, good. Chelsea loves doing a lot of behind the scenes things. Like I said, she's very organized, and she'll be the one, we use IO Planner. She'll be the one in there, organizing the checklist so that it suits our clients the best and things like that, which is great and needs to be done for sure. So I think the best thing is just to find out what your strengths are and the things that you love doing. And that's really what we've been able to do. I love being the first person our clients talk to, or our potential clients talk to. Those calls are so much fun for me. And so Chelsea's happy to hand those off because they're not her favorite. So it's, finding that balance.
Did you guys know kind of what at the beginning when you first started your business, did you each know a little bit about what you liked and didn't like? Or is that, I guess what I'm asking is, did you have any thought towards, okay, I'll do this and you do this, or has this totally happened holistically and you just kind of had to figure it out?
I think it's happened holistically. I think there were things that I thought that I wouldn't care to do just because I didn't know so much about the wedding industry. So I feel like there were things that I knew Chelsea was already passionate about that I thought she would kind of just run with. And then I think there were things she thought I would run with, but there were things as the years have gone on, like I said, blog posts. I love writing our blog posts, and then she goes in and edits them and adds pictures and things like that. And so I think things have just happened really naturally for us. Like I said in the beginning, we both tried to do it all, and that wasn't successful. So I think it's just been a natural progression of our strengths, and it's always changing too. I mean, if there's ever something that, I feel like I'm tired of doing, or vice versa, we're flexible in making changes as needed, or handing it off to someone else.
Yeah. Tell me about conflict in your partnership. Like, what is that? Do you have an example of a time you didn't agree? How do you solve disagreements? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, I think, we're like sisters now at this point. And so we get annoyed with each other. And, there's times that we don't maybe talk for a couple days because we've had a really busy wedding weekend together and we're just exhausted. But it's definitely one of those things where we do a good job of finally saying, oh my gosh, we're both so annoyed. We need to figure out what the root of this annoyance is. And it's typically stress related with the business and nothing to do with the either one. One of the things that we found is super helpful when we are feeling really in the trenches and really just nitpicky at each other is to just spend time together that's not business related. Because I will say that that's been the biggest impact on our friendship is, now that we have kids and stuff, a lot of the time we spend together is because of the business. And so a lot of times we'll sit down and we'll be like, stop, we need to just go have drinks together as friends again, because it's so easy when you're passionate about something for that to always be your topic of conversation. And I think that becomes a sore spot in our partnership, and it doesn't do us justice as friends. So I will say, there's times when we work, 4 or 5 weddings back to back together, and it's a really stressful, month and a half that we'll get annoyed. We'll get annoyed with each other, just like anybody would.
Just like any human being.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And I think we've gotten to know each other so well, where I know Chelsea, she's a very quiet person when she's frustrated or annoyed, and she definitely internalizes things, and she likes to process through things before talking about it, because I think there's, that's just, it works for her. And I'm very I want to tell you right now that I'm mad and I want to get it off my chest, and it doesn't always come out the best way. And so really respecting each other's communication styles is super important as well. And me giving her that space, and her also letting me vent if I need to vent and not taking that personally. So, being friends for 12 years now, we've really learned that balance.
Are you both doing all the weddings you book? Do you do every wedding together, or do you like divide and conquer the wedding day itself? What does that look like for you guys?
So yeah, not anymore. We usually work, I would say, like 4 or 5 weddings together in a season now. And so yeah, we do divide and conquer. Each of us will take on that lead role for a client as soon as we book them, so there's no confusion. And then if the other one is available to assist, then we'll do that. But we also have 2 other team members on our team. And so there's 4 of us total now. And so between all 4 of us, we just kind of rotate those weddings and assisting each other. So not every wedding together anymore. But a handful here and there. And we love working together. Now it's like a treat when we work together.
How many weddings are you doing a year together? Or not together, but how many weddings does your company do a year, and you're dividing between 4 people?
Yeah, so we used to do between 20 and 25, and now we are closer to like the 16, 17 wedding range,
Nice.
Which is just a nice place for us to be. We all have a handful of full service weddings, and then we do some, partial here and there, and then the rest kind of sprinkle in. So, we build a really great relationship with each of our clients, and we love to spend a lot more time with them. Than we, in the beginning, I feel like it was a lot of that day of and things like that. So we had to book a lot more, but now we're finding this really calm, peaceful place of working, 17 weddings or so a year, and really being able to divide them up between us.
You mentioned that you, like, speaking of like finding like a calm, peaceful place, you mentioned that you both have families now. Mm-hmm. What did that transit? So it sounded like when you first started 6 years ago, neither one of you had families. You had your boyfriends. You did have a tiny one. Yeah. Okay.
So
well,
we just had one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, and then you were like, I have a little baby, so I'm going to commit to starting a business. And now you both have families. How has that kind of changed the makeup of your business, both having like these other, you have always had, but having like kind of these serious family commitments as well as this serious partnership?
Yeah, I think that the biggest piece of it is just really respecting each other and each other's time. Mm-hmm. And just appreciating the changes and the ebbs and flows of our lifestyles. I have 2 now. One of them is in elementary school and the other one is in preschool. So I have a little more flexibility with my schedule now, as where 2 years ago, Chelsea didn't have any babies yet. And so she was in that place of being really flexible and being able to take on a lot while I was home with babies. So it's been really nice to have that partnership too. And now she has one on the way, which is very exciting. And her,
yay, Chelsea!
her newest daughter is due in September. So again, she'll take, a step back for a few months and really just be able to relax and enjoy that, knowing that I can really take on the bulk of the wedding stuff and just be there for each other. So I think it's changed a lot of things in the aspect of really understanding that we don't have to say yes to everything. And I think when you're early in a business, you feel that pressure to do that. And I think our families have really put that into perspective for us.
Yeah, that's so true. One of the things I forgot to ask, I wanted to back up just a little bit. You mentioned that you have 2 other like associate planners working for you. I'm interested who takes on, I feel like it's probably you, but I might be wrong. Is there one of you who takes on more of the managing these other 2 people role? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Chelsea and I literally talk about everything. So I feel like, we both do it, and we try to do a team meeting once a month with our team. And Chelsea usually, she makes like an outline for it, being the very organized person she is. And a lot of times I'll dive into the actual content. And so we kind of have that balance at our actual team meetings. But the 2 girls, Beth and Val, that we have in our team, they're incredible. And they honestly don't need a lot of managing. We're so lucky to have them. And it really does feel like a team instead of us and then them,
Yeah.
And it's really great. And like I said, we've gotten so lucky, because I know that there's planners that go through go through a lot of employees, and we feel like we've been in such a great place where we've had these girls with us for a couple years now, and they are so dedicated and so committed that it's been really easy. So I think we both, take on assigning them things and all of that, but they do a good job of taking that lead themselves as well.
Oh man, that's so lucky. Or I mean, it's just great. Well, it's also good leadership too on your part. You obviously have a really great, it's not just like, oh man, luck of the draw. You and Chelsea clearly have a really awesome, business that feels good for them. Otherwise they wouldn't be as committed. So you guys have to give yourself some credit too.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
We hope so. We want them to be happy.
Totally. Do you think that, okay, if I was like a new business owner or a new wedding planner and I came to you and said, hey, I'm thinking of getting in a partnership, what would you tell me?
I would tell you probably to, discuss a lot of things beforehand, and don't just assume things or expect things from each other that you don't discuss. I think the big thing with Chelsea and I was that we knew each other for so long before, and we knew what we were getting into with building that partnership of not just friendship, but being in business, and we knew what was at stake. So I think that a big conversation that we had in the beginning and that we always have is that our friendship comes first. So when things are really rough, or, someone dropped the ball on something or whatever, where those normal frustrations can happen, it takes that simple nod of acknowledgement of, our friendship is first. Like, let's take a breather if we need to and come back to this. And I think that's just the biggest thing, is knowing your intentions, both of your intentions, and making sure that, they're really pure and you guys have each other's back no matter what. And that would be my biggest piece of advice, is just really lay things out really clearly in the beginning.
I like how you said, do not assume something.
Yeah.
That is so, I was just like, yes. You can't assume, don't assume that they are willing or want to do a certain part of the business. Everything has to be talked about. It's so imperative. And then also, as you guys did, I feel like starting a business entity right away, and not just saying, oh, it'll be fine, we're friends.
Right. Yeah. Making all those things to make it official, I think, is important too, because then I feel like the responsibility is really there, where I could see if you started out maybe having this just be like this fun thing you both think you're doing on the side, you want to make sure that both people are equally invested.
That's good. I'm curious, 6 years that's a long time to be in business together. And I'm curious if you have built into your business, I know you're best friends, so you talk about everything, but do you have any kind of checkpoints or something built into your business where you sit down and say, are we both still committed? Especially since you have, commitments outside of the business, and somebody's interest might change. Is that something that you're ever concerned about? Or you guys, you're both in for the long haul, and that for sure?
No, we definitely do check in with each other, because I think that, as every season wraps up, we really do, we debrief with each other, and just talk about things we want to see different. And there's always, that conversation of, okay, did this feel like too much? Do you want to do less weddings? Do you want to do more? And we just really talk about our goals. And that's something that we really try to do at the end of every season, because everything's fresh in your brain. Whereas if, you wait through the holidays, then all of a sudden you might be like, oh yeah, I want to do it all. And then you're in that same stressful position. So we really try to do it at the end of the season and check in with each other. And we're both super honest about it. And I think that, going into 2020 with Chels having a new baby and stuff, we've already had that conversation of, okay, what does it look like if we, fill our girls' Beth and Val's calendars first, and then you and I really work on, working on the business and not so much in it, and then taking on, less clients than we did this year, and see what that looks like. And so it's always changing, and we're always trying new things and seeing what feels the best for us and what's going to make us want to stick it through for the long haul. Because I think, burnout is such a real thing. Yeah. And we have that conversation that it's like, neither of us would want to do this without the other one. So we're always wanting to make sure that conversation is really open, and we're making sure that we're both happy in this business. But I mean, we are just raw and honest with each other. So if we've had a really crappy weekend, we have no problem sharing that and talking through that with each other. And I think it's important too, because when you're so in it, especially if you're, say, been working with a client for like a year and you've just been in it with this client for so long, having that other person that's kind of on the outskirts can sometimes talk you through some things that you might have not seen or that you might have let overwhelm you when they shouldn't have, or things like that. So the check-ins are super important. And like you said, we've been friends for so long that we can both tell with each other. You know, I can tell if she's starting to feel burnt out or frustrated, and we can have that moment of, okay, let's talk through this. Let's, write down goals, write down what you want to see differently. And that's, something we try to do for sure every year, if not more.
That's so good. Do you feel like well, let me ask you this. I didn't ask this, so this is kind of backing up a little bit, but how far were you in business before you brought Beth and Val on?
So I want to say Val has been with us. This is her third or fourth season. It's terrible that I don't know.
She's just always felt like she's a part of it.
She has, for real. She came from another plating company that actually sold, and she decided not to move forward with that sale, and she decided to branch off, and she just really loved the partnership that Chels and I had. So we brought her in, and she's just kind of felt like a part of us, an extension of us as well. So she's been with us for about 3 years, and then Beth has been with us for 2 years. So we did the first, I would say, 3 years, just the two of us.
Mm-hmm. When you guys had that conversation about bringing someone on, how did that transpire? What was that like for, within the partnership? Were you both in agreement?
Yeah, we were, for sure. And I think, we get those resumes all the time for people that want to be interns and things like that. And that's something that I think we tried out for one season, and it just wasn't for us. We really wanted somebody that would be invested. And so that was a conversation that we had that was like, okay, we're going to start meeting with people, and when it feels right, we'll know. And we were both in agreement that Val, she just felt like such an incredible fit. And the same with Beth. Like the minute we sat down with her, we were like, yes, please come work for us. So, we were definitely in agreement with both of our girls. And we've talked to Beth and Val about bringing on one more person that can kind of float as all of our assistants, so that everybody can feel comfortable taking on a few weddings of their own.
So you're in a partnership and you have 2 associate planners. And you don't have to give me the specifics, but what does the percentage look like? How do you divide your finances? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Chelsea and I pretty much just pay ourselves a salary every month. And then our girls are contracted, so they get a percentage of every wedding that we hand off to them. And then things that they bring in on their own, like if somebody inquires and says, I met Val or I met Beth or whatever, they get an extra commission or whatever on that as well. So it's just an agreement that we've made with both of them. And every year we reevaluate, and they every year have gotten a raise, and it's been really great for all of us. And it is just nice. You can't put a price on being able to hand off a client to someone and feel totally at ease.
Yeah.
And we feel so lucky for that, because we always talked about when it was just the two of us, you put so much into this that we were like, how on earth are we ever going to grow? Because we just felt terrified, to be able to hand off clients and feel like they would get the same experience that they get with us with someone else. And we have that now, which is great.
It's so valuable. It's good for everybody because it gives everybody that balance.
For sure.
So as we wrap up here, Kayla, tell me what are kind of your best, we've talked about so much. Thank you for being so open about your partnership. It's been incredible. What are kind of your top 1 or 2 tips for partnerships for people in them, or, thinking of starting one? I know you were like, hey, talk about everything. What are something else you would advise someone to do who was about to jump in?
Yeah, I would say, each of you write down what you are hoping to get out of this, because I think that having a vision and knowing what everybody's vision is, I think is really helpful in encouraging each other. Yeah. So I think that's always a great thing, is to write, what your goals are, maybe a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever that might be. But what do you want to get out of owning this business together? I think is important, and writing down where you hope this partnership goes. I know some people start a business hoping that it sells, and make sure that you're on the same page with that, because if you have totally different goals on what the business will accomplish, then I think that could be a really big problem in the end. And then I think just also you need to be open with each other about, in some aspects, kind of your personal situation too, because I think, that's going to play a lot into your business of what you can handle personally, and what you can handle in the business, because I think that you both need to be in a environment where you can grow and thrive. And I feel like if you're not, then that's going to weigh on your business partner a lot. So I think just the open communication is important. I know there's plenty of business partners that go to therapy together and all that stuff, which I think is awesome. But yeah, I think having that really open communication is just so key.
That is so true. I'm so glad you said that. It's not just about communicating about the business. It's also about communicating what's happening in your personal life to an extent. I mean, you don't have to, you don't have to like open the bedroom door if you don't want to, but like we have to know what the other person's really going through. Like my business partner, my sister-in-law, she's also having a baby literally as we're recording this in 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But that means now between us, we have 5 kids. So that's a lot, right? We really do need to go, we need to know what's happening personally to an extent so that we can make those decisions, because being an entrepreneur and owning your own business is we're in it, it's all the same. It's not like, okay, this is my life and this is my business. It is, but it's also, they bleed together quite often.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I would just throw in there one other thing, try to see each other, because that's the other thing is with us being entrepreneurs, a lot of us don't have maybe an office that you go to or something like that. And a lot of things can end up being through text messages and phone calls or whatever. But we make it a priority to at least once a week sit down and actually work together, and I think that just helps build that bond and being able to see each other's faces, to tell that we're both in a good place and check in on each other. I think it's just really important for not only our friendship, but I think for your business relationship too. Making that effort is so important.
Smart. I'm so glad you said that. So smart. This has been so much fun. I appreciate you and just sharing with us everything that's going on in your partnership. Where can we find you online?
Yeah, so you can find us on our Instagram is at CK Event Design, and online we're just CK Event. So you can look us up there. We would love to have your people come follow us, and we really appreciate you. I say we all the time. I really appreciate you letting me jump on and chat with you today.
Thank you, Kayla. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.